Thank you so much for joining. And again, thank you to Shanti Davis Center and Sunny for hosting and offering these programs. They're wonderful, all their programs. So thank you so much. So I want to try a little meditation right now. You've had a lot of different exercises, different things to think about. You can continue to use those as much as you can. What I'd like you to think about right now I'm going to call this pack up your thoughts. This is the pack up your thoughts meditation. Okay. So I'd just like you to close your eyes for a moment. Find that nice extension for your spine and whatever other comfortable position for your body. Make any adjustments you'd like. And certainly sitting in a chair or a sofa, perfectly fine. Try not to lean too heavily against the back of the chair again. So it's an erect posture. Have your feet flat on the floor, not crossed. Feel that grounding. In a sense, grounding with Mother Earth. Chin is slightly tucked, eyes lightly closed, focus towards the tip of the nose or the floor in the space in front. And just check any places you find you're holding tension in the body. And imagine that inhalation now, opening up space, bringing tension, bringing spaciousness into the tension. And the exhalation, releasing that tension as much as you can. And to best balance our overall situation, let's rekindle that motivation. And you may never have thought about a motivation today. Let's think about it now. You can think about it any time of the day of me putting my mind in a more positive direction. Some days it's hard, I understand. But if I can just say for the remainder of my day, whatever I'm doing with my body, with my speech, with my mind, can I somehow focus it on something more positive, as much as it's possible, that might help me get to a place where I can most benefit all living beings. Take a moment, set that motivation, however best you'd like. And feel free to add in what is going to help serve me to choose kindness, to be kinder to myself, and in all of my responses to anyone else, whether it's on email, in a message, passing someone on the street, driving by someone, walking by someone in the subway, in the grocery store, on the bus. Can I explore those techniques available through so much of Buddhism and other practices? And especially since for some of you, the day is coming to a close, coming into the later part of the day. So for tomorrow, I want to use this motivation as well. Make a determination right now in your mind that you're going to get that motivation set early in the day, maybe first thing as you get out of bed, and let that invigorate your day. Put the motivation in your own words. What helps you be most spacious with yourself and all others? What helps you to keep your heart open in the face of any suffering, any discomfort you experience? See if you can make that determination in your heart. Now bring your awareness to your breath. Again, a normal, natural breath. So here's another tool, another technique. You set a motivation. Number one, maybe you have time for a sitting practice. Doesn't matter how long it is. You bring your awareness to your breath. It's a fantastic calming experience. If it's not calming, at least you get a look at your thoughts before negative responses and reactions take over your mind. Let's say you're agitated, you're fearful, you're intimidated by somebody that was in a meeting with you yesterday. Right now, this is my work, a simple inhalation, a simple exhalation. I'm just going to practice being with the discomfort. I don't need to fix it right now. I don't need any more negative rumination in the mind. I'm just going to be with the discomfort. Now, sometimes taking the deepest breath is not necessarily the most help, but is the breath coming into my belly or is it staying up in the lungs? And what if I just slow down the inhalation and exhalation? Let's try that. So can you get an inhalation to around 5 seconds? down into the belly, and exhalation for around 5 seconds. Just try that for a few breaths. So let's look at pack up your thoughts right now. Okay. So I'd like you to reflect right now, this past week, and maybe it's just today. What are you choosing to hold on to in your mind? So again, what are you choosing to hold on to in your mind? So you may scan back through a whole bunch of thoughts, distractions. And as you do that, just notice what comes out most dominant. Is there a dominant theme? Is there a dominant rumination of the mind? One worry or fear, and you keep returning again and again and again. And just notice, no judgment, just notice. I'd like you to visualize right now that thought, that experience that is dominating. Can you notice a little bit of the rut it creates, the trench in your thinking? And notice from the trench, we know what trenches are like. And what happens is when you get near a trench or a rut, the tendency is you can fall into it. We know what it's like when we get the car stuck in a rut. Sometimes you cannot get it out. So the mind stays there. And like if you see these cat toys with a ring and there's a marble in it, and it goes around and around and around. No real benefit moving out into a different pattern. So first, you just notice that ring, that rut, that trench. So it's very easy. Whatever thoughts come through the day, I end up back in the trench with the main dominant thought. And usually it's something disturbing to the mind. So just notice the nature of it. We're just observing. And now I'd like you to visualize, this is a little harder if you can, but like transformers they have in cartoons, where something forms into something else. It folds up into something else. Some of us have seen this. I'd like you to imagine that trench as if it's laid out in a box-like form. And suddenly from each end, it starts folding up into itself. You're packing up your thoughts. Packing up this trench. Pack it up however you'd like. Kind of letting myself be free for a moment, giving myself a vacation. So when we go on vacation, we tend to pack a bag, pack a suitcase. So you're going to pack up this thing because we're taking a vacation from that thought right now. Just imagine packing it up. And feel free to button it, snap it, zipper it, clamp it in any way you'd like. And you know when you're at an airport and you're checking a bag in and you put it on that conveyor belt and they push the button and it goes back into the conveyor belt and off it goes onto the bigger conveyor belt to the luggage handlers, to the plane. I'd like you to visualize you're putting your bag on that belt, whatever form it takes. Push the button and let it go. What's in the space of the trench? What's there now? And just notice any feelings that arise from whatever is manifesting in that space. So please relax. And slowly, when you're ready, please open your eyes. Please, if you'd like to unmute, what was in your space after you packed up your thoughts? Anybody care to venture?
I thought I made room for a little emptiness before something jumped in.
Now, who is that speaking?
Oh, it's Mary, the picture with the horse.
Oh, great. Can you turn your camera on, Mary, or can we see? Oh, there you are.
Yes, but sometimes, so
Wonderful.
I'm gonna shut it off when you start to wobble because I don't get good Wi-Fi.
Okay, I got it. No, that's okay if it's better, but that's great too. So Mary, you were saying, can you say that again?
Well, as you were walking me through it, and I was envisioning packing up my troubles, so to speak, and I was thinking of three particular worries. That's what my mind always goes to, worrying. Um, now I can have some emptiness. Let's see how long.
Some emptiness. Yeah, nice. So yeah, so there's a thing of spacious and emptiness. Absolutely. We're going to talk more about that tonight as well. Great. Thank you.
And I
Wonderful.
thought restful as well.
Restful, some restful space because you get a break. Again, you're taking a holiday from the worry. That's
Mhm.
restful. That's restful, I'd say. And what else? Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. What else? Anything? What else coming up for people? What was in your space? Anything surprising? Nothing in your space? Sunny, please.
Well, in my space, it was much lighter and kind of like much more positive than what I packed up and sent away.
Right. And so sometimes visual things I find I actually had flowers suddenly were blooming. That's surprising. I mean, it was a little surprising because again, this, I've done this a lot in other ways as well, and getting that gunk out of there, and then suddenly, maybe because it's springtime, I had flowers blooming. It was quite pleasant. But here's the other thing: is you can create something new and positive in the space. You can create something new and positive, and just like the rest of you, what Sunny and Mary said is. And so what happens is the trench dominates a lot, and it can be heavy. It can be really heavy. And so, so sometimes you just need a visual to give you a little kickstart. And I like the kind of packing up, like you're packing up a suitcase, and I love transformers because they turn into different things. And I find that kind of a fun image. And suitcases, just suddenly, tuk, 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 it all folds up, and then I have this little bag, and then I just push the button and off it goes. I don't really, why? I've been thinking about it for 15 years. I'm tired of having that dominant thought, or you're just thinking about it for the past few months, some new worry. There'll always be a new worry to fill in the trench, especially when we're habitual worriers or habitual ruminators. And some people are overthinkers. It's really normal. So just think about, do I need, and you can apply that technique to just, I think I'm going to pack up my thought. I'm tired of this thought, and I'm not feeling very well right now, and it has me really freaked out. So I'm just going to pack up that thought, send it on its way, and then let me just see or I'm going to actually force a little bit some more positive thinking in the thought. I'm going to be like, look, I've done everything I could do about that fear. And that's what you do with worry. You want to analyze. So again, don't just let the worry ruminate if you can avoid that. A lot of people are used to that. But if you have a worry, then ask yourself, what do I need to do to take care of this? Am I doing it? What's preventing me from doing it? Okay. Make some plans to see what you can take control of, right? There might be some things you realize, I can't do anything about it. Then I'm going to practice letting it go, which is packing up my thought and replacing with a more positive thought. And sometimes you can have direct antidotes, a direct antidote. That you have a concern. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I know people worrying about this. And it's just constant. Like they'll go to the store with a friend and, oh, let's buy this kind of cheese. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. Okay. It just becomes a really unnecessary mantra, like a sacred saying we'd say on the good sense, mind protection. You don't want mind protection and negative thinking. It doesn't protect your mind. Great, so I don't have money. I don't have money. So then you can say to yourself, well, direct thing is I think I'll get another job, or a friend offered me this opportunity. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to finish those. I don't have money and I just need to get another job and I'm going to do it. Or I need to get a job that pays me more money, or I'm going to tighten my budget and see if I can do that realistically without struggling too much. And that's all I can do about it, you know? Or do I need to ask somebody for a loan? Do I need to get some money from a friend or a family member? Can I do that? Is that comfortable? But you exhaust all your put all your different options down. And then I can stop I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. So take care of what you need to take care of, but think about the creative. There's a lot of creativity. There's creativity, something new, something positive when we feel vulnerable, okay? When we feel vulnerable, there is a chance of great creativity and innovation. Brené Brown says that as well. So last week, another thing I wanted to mention, we had talked about the Noble Eightfold Path, and we were looking at those of concentration. And again, the Noble Eightfold Path, this is the Buddhist passage of how do you get enlightened. And we were looking at ethical conduct, the ones under that, you know, right speech, right livelihood and things. We were looking at right concentration, that's the second category, right? And tonight I want to look at wisdom, third category, wisdom. Wisdom, what comes under wisdom, okay? Wisdom is right thought, right understanding. So there's two that come under wisdom. So we've looked at 6. We're now looking at the last 2, right thought and right understanding. Let's look at right thought first. And this relates to your thoughts. So you can think about, if I get a ruminating thought happening, is this the way the Buddha would be thinking? Okay. Now, you might not even be a Buddhist, that's fine. Is this the way, you know, some honored mentor of mine would be thinking, or, you know, some spiritual person I really respect, or somebody I see as kind of more highly realized or something? Is this the way they would think? I have my little WWRD. Sometimes when I'm in the middle of a decision or something with the center, or I'm teaching, or a student has a really big issue, WWRD, what would Rinpoche do? My teacher, what would Rinpoche do? You know, now I don't think like Rinpoche, I'm not realized like that, but what would Rinpoche do? And I try to you just try to imagine. So here's right thought. Right thought denotes the thoughts of selfless renunciation or detachment, thoughts of love and thoughts of nonviolence, which are extended to all beings. Okay. And interesting and important to note here that thoughts of selfless detachment, love, and nonviolence, you know, they're grouped here on the side of wisdom. So it shows that true wisdom is endowed with these noble qualities. Okay. And that any thoughts of selfish desire, ill will, hatred, violence, okay, is all a result of a lack of wisdom. A lack of wisdom in every sphere of life, whether it's your individual life, whether it's social, political, like that. So these are kind of experiences that are innate in your mind. And the reason you may not experience them all the time, I'm talking about selfless renunciation, detachment, love, nonviolence, compassion, wisdom. The reason they may not be manifesting all the time is simply because human beings have veils of delusion that cover over. That's all. It's normal for human beings to get separated from those thoughts, to not realize them more. But we practice, we remind ourselves. So when you have right thought, is I'm struggling, I'm ruminating about this thing, my boss just said this to me, I hate that person I work with, I can't believe this, I wish my father were like that, I wish my mother was like this, my boyfriend just said this to me, whatever those things. And then you worry, and I don't have enough money, and I hate my job, and there you go, whatever's happening, you know, there's a big world out there, so there's stuff happening. There's also good stuff happening. And you might say to yourself, you know what I need to do? I need 10 minutes with myself. I need to pack up my thought. Take the time. That's a great indulgence for yourself. It's a treat. That's self-compassion. Treat yourself to that. Some people go to spas, they have a massage. Some people get a pedicure, right? Some people go out for a run. Fantastic. Right? Decent coping mechanisms. But then you come back and sometimes the thought's still there. So I'm going to sit and you go, I need to pack up my thought. Let me just hang with that a little bit, get my breathing going, get a good motivation. You can do it quickly, a little bit breathing. And what they're finding is that 5-second breath I'm giving you, it's supposed to be 5.5 seconds, believe it or not. It's supposed to be the optimum amount of breath you need. Inhalation, 5.5 seconds. Exhalation, 5.5 seconds. Again, there's always new fads coming in, but I just read this book, amazing book on breath called Breath. Highly recommend it. And it was really interesting. So what happens is when you're first doing that breathing, you may feel a little stress. You're kind of going, I can't really get to the end of the 5.5, I'm not feeling it. Practice. You practice it. Doesn't feel normal for us because we're probably not breathing properly. We're probably not breathing like that. Not necessarily taking a deep breath, but am I getting it into the belly, but it's relaxed and slow. Practice it a little bit. See if it calms you down a little bit, or try it from time to time. Okay, but there I am. I need to pack up my thoughts. So I'm going to go back to the breath. I set a motivation. And now let me figure out what thought's really dominating, or I'm really clear what thought it is. Visualize packing it up, put it on the conveyor belt. And now what about selfless renunciation or detachment? What does that mean, for one? What does that mean? Those are big words, right? And people go, detachment, that's not good. That's not good. So let's explore that for a moment. Selfless renunciation, detachment. How does that relate to kindness and things like that? And so renunciation is a big word we have in Buddhism. Renunciation, we know, is a word that means giving things up, giving something up, letting go of something. That can be helpful, letting go of something. But people think renunciation is about giving away all your belongings, giving all your money away. It's not that at all. It's an attitude. It's an attitude. Selfless, getting myself out of the way. Okay. And what you're really giving up with renunciation fundamentally is suffering. You acknowledge there's certain behavior patterns you're doing, and you see things in other people that you don't like, right? And you don't want to be that way. So you realize I need to give up some of these patterns in my mind. I can't control anyone else. I need to give up some of the patterns in my mind that are holding me hostage, right? Preventing me from merging with love and nonviolence and compassion and wisdom and all those thoughts. Okay. So selflessness, though, with a bigger motivation. I'm motivated because I really want to help all beings. And the more I continue to do these negative patterns, and they're just a habit, and I look around and I go, everybody does them, right? But all I'm working on is taking care of my mind right now. But with a bigger motivation that I really want to help all beings. Okay. And I'm choosing to give up this pattern. I'll give you one example that happened in my life years ago. Before I was a nun and I had relationships, and I was involved with this man, and he was a really good guy, but we sometimes had some really negative patterns we get into, as couples get into, right? And at one point we had this big fight. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and I remember we had a big fight, and he said, that's it, I'm leaving. And he stormed down the stairs, and I didn't think he really left. And I went and I ran over to the window and looked at the window, and his car was gone. And I just, somehow it really leveled me. It was really like, because it was a huge fight, and I think I was crying, and he was yelling at me, and and we had gotten into this before, and I just was so tired of this. And somehow when I finally saw, because other times he threatened to leave, he never did, but when I saw the Jeep gone, and somehow it kind of like leveled me to my knees. And I remember having this very strong feeling, I'm not doing this again. I am not going to be doing a relationship like this again. And I'm not going to do this pattern again. And it was so strong in my heart, I never did it again like that. Of that, whatever toxic scene was going on. And it wasn't that he was bad. And we certainly saw each other after that. But I never got into that space again with anybody. So I gave it up. And what happens sometimes is, don't shy away from really bad patterns you're going through at one point, but look at them, observe them, use them, learn from them. So what happens is we blame ourselves. Oh, I'm doing this again. I got into it, but just keep using it and say, why does it keep coming up? Like, what's going on for me that I keep perpetuating this? Can I make a change? Can I give this up? That's selfless renunciation. Okay. And it creates this detachment. Okay, as opposed to attachment was what I was involved in with this guy, utter attachment, an attachment to a negative behavior. Like we just had ways, and you function in these ways from your family, from different dynamics, environmental conditions, how your friends do relationships, what you see, what your parents taught you, how they do their relationship. They just do it as human beings muddling along. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes not, right? And then you learn from that. And sometimes you perpetuate the negative habits in your relationships, and sometimes you get a good one going, okay? So, but the detachment was, I could see him as a human being and I liked him. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't, but I could kind of see this. And then I went, wow, we're really doing some negative stuff we don't really need to be doing. You know, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, I like him. I'm certainly going to be friends with him. And if we find a way we can still go out and have that kind of relationship, I'm open to exploring that. But this way, this negative, unhealthy, toxic thing, that ain't going down for me in this life. And I really was very firm. Now, sometimes you say that and then you fall back into the trench. So then you need to pack up that trench thinking again and keep checking with yourself. What happened that I fell into the trench again? What, you know, like I realized, and some of the relationships I got into, I realized I went into the trench again. I don't know how many of you do this with, because I wanted to have a partner so badly. You know, because I was lonely, because I felt like, well, having a partner shows success and that's what everybody's doing. So I guess I should do that. And, you know, not feeling confident on my own, not like a variety of reasons we do it. And I'm just using that kind of relationship as an example of why I perpetuated behavior again, simply due to an imbalance in my mind, you know, and we learn and we grow. You know, and then you keep rebalancing. For me, every day is a rebalance. Get out of bed, some days better, some days not, some days, then I get an email from this person and I go, well, you know, and then an email from that person and I go, oh, great. And that's our days. And you're out there in the world and this thing, and suddenly the line at Trader Joe's is too long and that person in the car was really mean and there's too much traffic. And hey, this is daily life on the planet. But again, you can go through, and like I loved what Linda said is, you make eye contact if you're a driver. When you make eye contact with people, I rarely have had somebody not let me in once I make eye contact. You know, then suddenly we're connected. Hey, you and I in our cars, we're connected. And they see, and they kind of know, like somebody's let me in before, like I'll let her in. All right. I just spent, part of yesterday and the day before in immense traffic. Oh my goodness. I'm not in a lot of traffic. Fortunately, I don't go out at those times and I can avoid it, but I had to do this traveling and it was staggering. And some people do it every day. They get, you know, but I was just amazed at the number of people. And there were times when you could make eye contact and somebody would, so much more pleasant. Or I let people in too, you know, it's kind of like, all right, you know, let this person go, not in a big rush, it's okay. So again, think about, you know, and part of our practice is you just have to keep showing up, keep rolling up those thoughts, the negative ones, pattern over, and then replacing them, finding the positive, what would it be? And so when this guy approached me again and we decided we would talk again, I was scared. I was nervous because I'm like, I'm going to fall back into the old, you know, I'm going to feel like, oh, I really like him. And we have this pattern already. And we kind of have our modes, you know, you've all been there. And I, and I had to really hold my ground and speak slowly. And sometimes he'd say something, his experience, and I would just pause before I'd respond. And I'd pause. And there was an inhalation and an exhalation. And I let myself think about it and maybe another breath. And then I'd really try to find my authenticity, my truth, to kind of say, I understand, but I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I know you like doing that. That doesn't work for me. But relationships compromise, and I understood that. So when he said, well, this doesn't, and I said, and I will stop doing that behavior. I know that doesn't work for you. I am committed to stopping that. I won't do that. But in order to do that, I'm going to need you to do this. Does that work for you? And if he said no, then I was going to go, then this ain't going to work. I was already prepared for that. But if he said, yeah, let's try again, I would be like, okay, we'll see how it goes. So again, set your boundaries, know what's reasonable, but you can say it in a kind way, can do it in a kind way rather than the blame. That's the detachment you want to add in. It doesn't mean you don't care. Actually, that kind of detachment, that selfless renunciation means I care more. I care so much for you that I really want to have this truthful, authentic conversation, you know, and I'm going to express to you some fears I have. I feel okay to say that. Like I feel vulnerable and this is a new behavior for me to not do this thing you want me to do. So I'm a little nervous that I might not be able to do it. And I'm just going to express that to you. But you can feel the authenticity and the realness. So he could say to me, well, this other thing you want me to do, I'm also a little afraid. I might not be able to do it. But he wasn't like that. He couldn't admit that. You know, he would make a joke. So I kind of went like, and I went, well, I'm pretty serious here and I don't want to joke it away. So I just was able to say that of like, I know this is scary for you and, you know, and then we would try again, you know, and then eventually we split because it just wasn't working like that. But doesn't have to have hard feelings. So it's one thing I was going to say is just continue to work with that. I know it's not easy. Now here's the second part of it. So that's just talking about right thought. So please think about until our next class happens to be a week away. That's our last class. I will miss all of you, but hopefully we can do some additional classes. Think about right thought, how that's going to work in your week and how it works in your life. Okay. And then again, that's thoughts of selfless renunciation or detachment. How are your thoughts of love going this week? How are they going throughout your life? Don't ever let go of those thoughts. Thoughts of nonviolence. Now, nonviolence is, I don't think any of you are going to be physically violent with people. That's pretty unusual, especially people that come to Buddhist classes. Okay. Excuse me. But we have nonviolent thoughts. Sorry, we have violent thoughts about people. And we have little, you know, where it's, you know, and I just got an email from somebody. I don't think she means poorly at all, but the email it's a little bit too intense from somebody I'm working with. You know, it's just a little bit too in my face of like attacking a little bit on, you know, and I know that we're going to work it out and I'm going to explain. And I know it's just, she's got a personality like that. So I kind of let that go a little bit, but I am going to be really clear in my response. And here's the second part is she and I have been due for a walk for weeks. We haven't made the time. We haven't found the time. The weather got bad, but we keep reaching out saying, hey, let's do that walk. You're going to go for a walk? And she still wants to do it and I still want to do it. And I know that when we walk and talk, a lot of that stuff's going to melt away because suddenly why? We're creating more healthy relationship, interrelating. It's worth it to both of us. We're both going to make the time for it. I find it incredibly valuable. I really like her. Right? I love a lot of her work ethic and her involvement and things like that. And I really am dedicated to make this work. So there's my love experience and my nonviolence. In my mind, my right thought is I'm going to keep coming to her with love, which is I want her to be happy. And I'm really going to keep responding in nonviolent ways. I'm not going to get into, well, you attacked me. So, you know, what'd you mean by that word? That was really rude. I'm not going to come, I want her to be happy. My experience is I want to come, I'm a nun. I want to come from a nonviolent place. I care about her, but I want a nonviolent ripple to go out, not just to her. It creates a ripple out to my community, out to the environment and the world. That's what I want to send out there. And I can say, well, you know, I know people say, well, she hurt me. She attacked me. She verbally attacked me. She said, do I understand we're all human beings? You know? That's just a certain way she may be responding from her own confusion, fear, whatever. But I don't even need to load that up on her that it's her. This is my karma. This is from my mind. I own it. I have been that way to other people. I know I have. I'm sure I have been in this life, in past lives. I'm sure that's the only place it comes from. So she's really a precious jewel to me of showing me my mind. She's letting me work on this really skillfully. It's not easy. You know, it's going to take me more time to compose that email than somebody that's easy and stuff. but it's valuable. She's a human being and I really value her. She's a good person. So this is a way I'm changing my mind. Right? It's really worth it. It's really, and it's exciting too, because I know I'm going to write this email back and I have a feeling she'll come back and go, oh, well, that makes sense. She had her own stuff going on and some of it, and I'm not taking it personally. That's the other thing is I'm not taking it personally. She wants the same, I think she has the same intention for the center that I have. We want this place to thrive and succeed. She's doing her best to do that. I'm doing my best. We have different skills. I value her skills because they're different than mine. I don't want to do the stuff she's doing. She doesn't want to do the stuff I'm doing. So great compliment. We need her. I need her. She needs me. We need all the other people. So again, this is all positive reframing, right? All positive reframing. I can blame her. I can shut up in my cabin and go, oh, she's bad. She's bad. And then ruminate. Make a big crunch that she's bad. And then I can have another person tell me, bring up her name. And then I'll go, oh, well, she's nah, right? Doesn't help. But that's how we gossip a lot and create negative stuff in families and communities, at Dharma centers, in your workspace, anywhere in your neighborhood. So let's just be conscious. And, I'm taking responsibility. I'm trying to do it in the most positive way. I feel good about it. Is it work? Of course it's work. It's the most valuable work you can do. Most valuable work you can do. Please don't stop doing it. Just keep showing up. Okay. So the next thing I want to go into, and we're going to get into right understanding, but first hang on there with right thought. Keep working those experiences, love, nonviolence. Think about selfless renunciation. Please run those through your week, but run them through the rest of your life. How can I find a way to respond? Or what I did say wasn't very kind. Back to my cushion. What would be a better way to respond? And how come I responded like that? Well, I was afraid. I thought, okay, so look at that fear. Can you rebalance and find good footing for yourself? What does that mean? It's different things in different situations. Find the footing. Again, for me, that meditation practice is so essential. It's your chance to get together with your mind, calmly, gently, authentically, with your eyes open. And you have to own stuff sometimes. I know if I've been harsh to somebody, and I'll be like, I didn't need to say it like that. Why did I do it? I was in a hurry. Why did I do it like that? I was tired. Okay, so the next time you're tired, you're not going to hang out with people for that long. You need to leave the party. Fair enough. Okay, so now I know my limits more, and I know I leave. I'm tired. Thanks very much, everybody. That issue you're bringing up, I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. Somehow for me, my karma hasn't finished with the barking dog. The barking dog returned yesterday, unfortunately. We don't know how long the barking dog's going to stay, but it's been an ongoing issue here with everybody. Okay. So the next thing I want to add in about the places of discomfort with practice, and I want to talk about something called how we continue this practice, the practice of the three difficulties. The practice of the three difficulties. What does that mean? Okay. We have mind training slogans in Buddhism. Mind training, lojong, we call it. It's kind of higher level practice. One of the favorite things I love to teach on lojong. Lo, mind, jong, transformation or training. Okay. So there's various slogans from Master Atisha, originally coming down from the Buddha. Slogans, 59 mind training slogans. The most famous one is place all the blame on one. Place all the blame on one. What does that mean? We like in the States, we blame people. Our environment, our culture blames. You got the Republicans are bad and the Democrats are bad and this guy's bad and this legislator, and just we kind of are very opinionated and we tend to blame. Okay. But what if you could place all the blame on one? Buddhism says, Master Atisha's mind training slogans. Place all the blame on one. Anybody? What's the one? Yourself. You're self-cherishing, actually. It's your self-cherishing. So you're not dumping on yourself. You're not harming yourself. But I'm looking at all my self-absorption, all my selfishness. And in Buddhism, we would term that self-cherishing. That's what I'm going to blame. That's what gets in the way. That's what makes you upset. And so watch in the dominance as you're trying to deal with the ruminating thoughts and pack those up. I'm trying to replace with something more positive and create a new habit, something more positive, full of love, nonviolence, selfless renunciation, detachment, and all those other good qualities, right? And in doing it, so I'm not blaming myself, but I'm noticing that self-cherishing gets in the way again and again. Because I could say, this email I got, I could say, well, she ruined my day. My day. You know, she doesn't understand. She's never run a center. She's never, tired. That stuff's useless. That's it. She's a human being. And in the morning I got up and I said, wow, I'd really like to reach a place. I'm going to try to direct all the energy today of my body, speech, and mind towards something positive that will get me fully awake, will get me enlightened. Why? Because I want to benefit all living beings. That includes her. All living beings. I can't leave her out now and go, well, everybody but her. Sorry. Especially her. She's really valuable. She shows me my mind. I actually really like her. So, but okay, so place all the blame on one. But so these are some slogans. 3 difficulties, okay, can restore, when you practice these, they restore sanity and capacity in our daily lives, okay? It's this simple. It's this simple. These are the 3 difficulties. Number 1, notice the behavior. So you're simply noting how you're acting. Acting, speaking, doing, thinking, notice. You're simply observing. Okay. You don't need to fall into the judgment pool, the critical pool, the I'm lousy, I'm worthless, I'm terrible because I did this. I'm simply noticing behavior. It's number 1. Number 2, okay. You try something different. You try something different. You know, there I was with my friend, the boyfriend, whatever, did it this way. I'm like, okay, how many times have I looked at it? It doesn't work. It's not working that way. You know, I know it's a habit, but it's been hard to get out of it. It is simply not working. I need to try something different. And that was us sitting down calmly. And I finally expressed where, when you do that, it makes me feel like this. And I don't really want to be around that anymore. So is that something you could refrain from doing? Right? Do something different. I had to voice it, say it like that. And I had to be very firm if he was going to do it again to walk away or just not be part of that conversation that day, or just tell him that I'm not available to go out that day because he's doing it again. I could also include that he said, well, I don't want when you do this, and I could agree to do something different. I will try that because the relationship's valuable to me. So yes, I will make a commitment to you. So those are some options. Do something different. Or you're just noticing, oh, every time I'm with this person, I make snippy remarks to them. Somehow I'm disrespecting them. What's going on? Well, they push my buttons more than anyone else. They're doing, you know, it's just evaluate, analyze on your cushion. Analyze with yourself what's really happening. Okay. And then can I practice, do something different? We had a meditation a few weeks ago dealing with a difficult person. That meditation, again, is designed to do it again and again and again. So use your difficult person, put them in front of you, and check your motivation, why you responded that way. What do you think their motivation is? What do you think's going on for them, why they act that way? What's going on for you? Don't they, just like you, want to be happy and not suffer? Don't you have a lot of things in common with them? And aren't you both humans, meaning you make mistakes? So these are just layers of techniques you use in the meditation to help yourself do something different. And then what you're finally going to do is, after you consult and look out through their eyes back at you, what's their experience looking at you, angry, blah, blah, blah. Then you're going to practice from your side new behavior. And you're going to rehearse it in meditation. That person can say the exact same things they say. From your side, you're going to counter with something different. Different word, different tone of voice, different response, different posture of your body, different look on your face, maybe with humor, but do something different. Here's number 3. If you're noticing that works, that behavior, you commit to practicing that new behavior until it becomes natural. Again, you commit, and this is, you commit. Like I've had some meditations where I'll say to you, or I'll say to people, to myself as well, I'm going to dedicate my mind right now. This is what I'm going to do tomorrow when I'm in front of that person. I'm really going to generate a deep thought of that in my mind. So you commit to practicing the new behavior until it becomes natural. And you try your best. Try your best. Everybody okay? Are we communicating? Any questions just so far? Sunny.
I wonder if you could speak to how you could use this process when it's not so much that, you know, that it's not so much that you are being snippy with someone else, although I'm guilty of that all the time, but also I find that in the first, the first mind training aphorism, place all the blame on one, I have a hard time separating my self-cherishing from myself, and so if I'm going to beat up anyone, I end up beating up myself, not the self-cherishing.
Right, that's a good question. And so I'm not saying that mind training slogan, place all the blame on one, is the first one. It's not. It's one of the famous ones of the 59. It's one of the most famous ones, place all the blame on one. So how do you distinguish the self from self-cherishing? And so there's a Sunny sitting here listening to the class, you know, merely labeled Sunny. We can even take it down to emptiness of there's no inherently existent Sunny there. Existing, permanent for all time, not changing and things like that. And then you're labeled Sunny on your body and mind, your aggregates, body and mind, the collection, and you're labeled basically on the form that looks like an American woman or something like that. You can go, you know, and then Sunny place labeled on that. So there's no inherently existing, concretely existent Sunny there for all time. A highest school would say you exist in a sense like a mere designation, a mere label is one way. Yet there's a conventional Sunny, I call the mere Sunny, that is here participating in the class, showing up in your block with Zoom, able to speak, and that needs to be taken care of. You need to feed that Sunny. You need to take care. You can't walk in front of a bus in New York. You'll get hit. But then how do you want that Sunny to go through space? So the bigger your view of all the beings around you, you can flow interconnectedly through your life. But when self-cherishing gets activated, suddenly I'm kind of like, you know, what do I need all the time? What do I need? And people, and you could be, and I just remember somehow I'm using this example of Trader Joe's in Manhattan, because when I moved back to the East Coast and started teaching for Shanti Davis Center a lot, I was staying sometimes in the city, and one time I was like, oh, I'll go into Trader Joe's, you know, and I was living at that time in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So it wasn't an urban environment. And I go into the urban Manhattan Trader Joe's, and I just needed vitamins, and I get the thing of vitamins, and I'm looking to check out, but the line is all the way around the store. And I remember like first going, what? For this bottle of vitamins? I'm not waiting in the line. Like, you know, and then I realized the line moved rather rapidly because they had so, you know, but it was a little startling. So if I'm kind of in there and just in my own bubble and what do you need? And I butt in front of somebody in line because I need to get out, I'm not going to wait in this line, you know, and I'm rude to somebody, that's my self-cherishing. But if it's me just getting my vitamins in the store and I'm taking care of myself, and then I'm kind of like, oh, excuse me. Oh, do you know where the end of the line is? Oh, it's back there. Oh, okay. Well, let me get in the end of the line because we're interconnected beings. And I don't want people jumping and butting in front of the line of me. And if I butt in front of the line, I'm creating the cause for that. And if I'm rude to somebody, I'm creating the cause for someone to be rude to me. Do you see the difference? So the self-cherishing tends to get into negative behavior. And you're completely mired in yourself. You can't see any light to try to help anybody else. You're not focused at all on any benefit you can lend to anybody else or anybody else's experience like that. It's all about me. What about me? What about me? You know, take care of me, show me, you know, can I, you know, that I'm more important than anyone else. That's the self-cherishing. Coming from our self-grasping, from not having a real view of myself. Does that help? Sometimes it's fine distinctions. Let me go into this last of the Noble Eightfold Path related to wisdom, right understanding. So we talked about right thought, right understanding. What is this about? Right understanding. This relates to emptiness. Right understanding is the understanding of things as they are. Okay, it's the Four Noble Truths that explain things as they really are. Right understanding, therefore, is ultimately reduced to the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. Okay, this understanding is the highest wisdom, which sees ultimate reality. It sees emptiness directly. What we're talking about, sees ultimate reality. Okay, according to Buddhism, there's two sorts of understanding we have. We have knowledge, I'll call it. I'm going to talk about knowledge. That's general understanding, like accumulated memory, you know, an intellectual grasping of a subject according to certain information you're given. We understand that. You know, when you'll say, well, they're really smart. They remembered all the different things of the Noble Eightfold Path. They know that, you know, that's knowledge, I'm going to call it. Intelligence, you might call it, okay? And it's not necessarily that deep, okay? Real deep understanding or penetration is seeing a thing in its true nature without name or label, okay? This is the direct insight into emptiness, okay? And it's only possible when the mind is free from all negativities, all those veils of obscuration over your Buddha nature, and when the mind is fully developed through meditation. Okay. So this is something we work towards, we build towards. Every human being can develop this insight that sees ultimate reality directly. So that's right understanding. And what you can do this week is if you can work on, continue to think about emptiness. So I just want to remind you about the pen. Let's go back to the pen that we had analyzed some weeks ago and in other emptiness classes. This is so key to our kindness, of treating people with kindness. Is what I think of is, again, it looks like there's a pen in my hands. It certainly looks like there's a pen in my hands. Okay. And when we analyzed the pen before, just to give you some, again, reminder about this, and you say, well, where does the pen exist? Well, you're holding it in your fingers right here. You know? So we very specifically want to acknowledge how the pen exists. And according to Buddhism, there's 3 levels of dependent origination, that how the pen exists. One level is the pen exists based on causes and conditions. Causes and conditions. And I mentioned that before, that people were living in caves, recording their history with minerals on a cave wall. Fast forward to ink wells, people writing, paper developed, and now fast forward to modern days, plastic, and somebody having a factory and saying, I think I'll mass produce plastic pens to make money. And that's a cause and condition how this pen got here. All those things before, okay? Second, dependent arising. How does the pen arise? Independence on its parts. And we explored the parts of the pen, the cap, the bottom little plastic thing here, plastic cylinder, ink cartridge inside, ink inside of that, little metal thing over here. I think you get the ideas. I'm going to even call this the side of the pen. I'm going to call this the other side of the pen. I might call this the bottom of the pen. This is the top of the pen. That's also relative. Somebody might say, well, that's the bottom, that's the top. Okay, but you get the idea. These are parts of the pen. And if I took out each part, and we did this before skillfully, slowly, and said, if you said, well, you know, I see where the pen is, it's in your hands, and I'll go, okay, well, what's actually in my hands is this little bottom part here. If I took that out and held it up to you, you wouldn't call that pen. Right? And if I took this off and said, is this the pen? You go, no, that has a different name, different label. That's cap. And it doesn't function as a pen, it doesn't write. This has to function as a pen as well in order to be labeled, authentically labeled pen. okay, to be a conventional basis of designation for pen. For instance, this is not a valid basis of designation for pen. This doesn't write, doesn't have an ink cartridge in it, doesn't, so you have to have a valid basis of designation that you're going to label, that you're analyzing. This I would analyze for its cupness. Where's the concrete cupness that feels really solid in my hands? Okay, doesn't exist. But there is a conventional cup in my hand, yes. Okay, so what we eventually want to analyze is for ourselves, but pen is a little easier to start to deal with. So we've got it based on causes and conditions, based now on parts. And if I look through all those parts, I'm not going to find pen. So please think about this. You can't put all those parts together that you examined and didn't find pen there in any of those parts. You can't put all those parts together and say, but when the collection comes together of those parts, there's a pen there. When the collection comes together of those parts, what appears to our consciousness is a valid basis of designation to be labeled by the mind pen. Okay, think about it again. What comes together in the collection of those parts, the cap, the bottom, ink cartridge, plastic cylinder, side, top, bottom, all of that, when all those collection comes together in one type of form, okay, what appears to my consciousness as a human being in this part of the world is a plastic cylindrical tube filled with ink that writes. That's a valid basis of designation for pen. Again, please think deeply. Plastic cylindrical tube filled with ink that writes appears to my consciousness. And in this way for all of us, I consciousness, I sense organ connected to in my mind, visual sense consciousness, takes in the data, the information, okay? And then my mind labels pen on that. And there's a gap of the labeling process. It almost seems like it happens instantaneously. There's a pen, okay? But there's actually a labeling process. There's a gap. My ignorance covers over. I don't see the gap, okay? And then my mind imputes, designates labels, they're all synonyms, pen on this valid basis designation. And then we would say the pen comes into existence. Pen arises based on those things. And in this last school, most subtle, the pen arises in dependence on the mind labeling on a valid basis designation, on a mental imputation. Okay, so it's a lot. These are terms I'm using over and over again, kind of saying the same kind of thing. So what I would then say is, there is a pen there, and there is a conventional mirror pen that I use to write, and I take notes for the class, and I'm showing you. And that is there, and that's what I'm holding. Okay, there's no inherently existent pen there for all time. There is no inherently, which means concrete existence, solid existence, existing with its own penness, its own pen nature that doesn't change. That doesn't exist. But that's not the way we interact with the pen. Now, pen is mundane. Pen is simple. But again, here's the problem. Is a concretely inherently existent pen appears to my consciousness. I miss the labeling process because of my ignorance. What's the ignorance? It's simple confusion of misknowing reality. That's all it is. It's misknowing reality. It's been in my mind since the beginning of misknowing reality in my mind, where there's no beginning, just previous moments of that. And then an inherently existent pen arises to my consciousness. Okay. So that's the first mistake, is the inherent nature of something arises to my consciousness. First mistake. Second really big mistake, mine. I grasp onto it. And that's where all your suffering begins. Okay. So again, think of yourself. Think of yourself like just what Sunny said, and so then I have a misknowing of how I exist. I'm in the space, pretty dominant, pretty clear. Everything has to be according to my agenda to further me, to make me comfortable, da, 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 da. And I just give an example, and I get an email today from somebody, now, and again, I chose not to take it personally. I don't think that's how it was meant anyway. I really don't think so, but it was strong. And I had a little bit of like, I don't like this, discomfort, all that, but then kind of not taking myself that seriously and not like, they can't attack me because there's no inherently existent thing to attack. But is there an Amy that's reading the email and engaging in this work and wanting to create harmony with this person and liking, absolutely. And I'm going to try to take care of that in the meantime by not overreacting to this email. So that's how we combine the two truths. My conventional relative, me, Amy, reading the email, participating in this work, wanting the work to go well, wanting it to be harmonious, wanting to support this person, liking this person, wanting to clarify with them, which I think is valuable. The way they've tried to clarify things with me, I really appreciated that. That's fantastic. The things they teach me, wonderful. And yet there's no personal Amy she can attack or upset. Doesn't exist at all. So it's a way of me letting go the grasping on, how dare she send me an email like that? Who does she think she, and then you're just twisted out of shape. And then my self-cherishing gets involved and I need to protect this, So I'm going to send a response and tell her who I am and clarify that and attack her back because I don't like how she voices things. That doesn't work. It's not what I'm going to, it's just pointless. So again, my kind response is I'm acknowledging that she's a human being like me and I don't know her level of realization. She might be a Buddha. I don't know her mind, right? So I'm going to defer and just at least see her as a valuable, every being, the more we can get into, every being on the planet is valuable. And I know some make really big mistakes, right? And we just had another shooting. Children, right? We have somebody on the other side of the planet who's created this huge war right now that has killed thousands and thousands of people and destroyed Ukraine. So I can choose to blame this person and get angry with them and hate them. That only disturbs me. I'm not interested in that. There's a suffering being there that's making such a huge mess for themselves. And the thing is, once you start to get into emptiness more and more and understand this authentic nature of reality, ultimate reality is what we're talking about. And it's a very foreign concept to most of us. It's like only Buddhism really has this kind of belief system. I haven't really found it exactly spoken about in other traditions as well as in here. And so what happens is the more you understand people's confusion, it's natural for them to make mistakes as long as we're ordinary beings. And an ordinary being simply means you don't have a direct perception of emptiness. But as Buddhists, we can work on it. But because of, you can say Putin started this war and all that, and I hate him. But think about his confusion. And again, I don't know his mind. He could be a Buddha. He could be a Buddha manifesting in a certain way for us to practice compassion like that. But in whatever his thing, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. There seems to be some confusion there. Hating him isn't going to solve it, right? And if he's really confused and creating so much suffering for, first of all, these two countries and all the soldiers, let alone all the people being bombed, that all the civilians that have been killed, all the destruction of the infrastructure, for one, that'll cause years of rebuilding and stuff. Anybody that creates that, how can you not have compassion? Right? They are lost on one level. And think of the suffering he creates for himself. So people make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes are viewed like we are children. We are unknowing. Kids just don't know sometimes. We have compassion for kids, but sometimes adults muck it up too, right? So does everybody understand what I'm talking about? To some degree of how valuable this understanding with emptiness, to keep working on it yourself. Keep working on it. Analyze your car, analyze the pen. But again, then something goes south for you. Something's not working out. Somebody said something. Somebody's on the bus a little close to you. Somebody stole your purse. Somebody bashed your car. Happens all the time. Boss, you don't like this. That worker. This is life on samsara. Nobody said it was going to be perfect. It's not perfect, by the way. And I can position myself in a bright, positive way. I can be positive. I can be kind. I do know some people that I worked with, a woman at our center, a young woman, one of the best cooks we've ever had at one of our centers some years ago. And she had a lot of challenges in her life. Mentally ill father. Her mother died of cancer when she was in her 20s. She's had some really big challenges. And anytime I ask her, how are you doing? great. And that's her. Every day, and she means it. She's not being glib. She's great. And that's the way she just presents herself. And people love being around her. I love her. I love being around her. She's wonderful. She's got great mind, great heart. So we can always choose great. And there are days you may not be able to choose great and take care of yourself. That's okay. That's okay. As long as you're working to try to counter the negativity, pack up that ruminating mind and try to present something a little kinder, a little more gentle. It starts with yourself. But the bigger purpose is so I can benefit all living beings and do that. So we want to keep working on emptiness. We have to. We have to. Let me give you some other practical things that I didn't want to forget in as well that we've been working through. Here we go. We had worked with ask for help and feel your feelings were some practical things I was working with you on. Here's another one is accepting support, right? And then, not only asking for help, but help others. That's another flip side of that, okay? Asking for help's only one side of it. The other part is, can I be open and willing to accept the help when I need, accept the support? Because people care and people will come to the support. I've often had a thing like I'm going to say, oh, I don't want to ask. It's just me. I'm only one. The cabin's leaking. So what? There's so many other problems. But I just put it on the list of all the things just so they know for the future when I'm not here that there's a problem, and they should know if somebody else lives here, whatever happens. It's just good to improve the infrastructure. Anyway, at centers, we always want to do it. I don't care if they get to it in 10 years. I'm okay right now. But suddenly people are like, oh, we're going to help you with that. And I'm going to help them do it as well, because I'm going to try to raise money for it. So it's like, accept the support. And then I can help others. And I can say, well, what other projects do you have going? Like, it doesn't have to be my project, this cabin. What other stuff? Great. We got a truck that way. I said, what are your big, I went to our operations guy. What are the big projects? Tell me, how much money do you need? We wrote up a little thing, 1, 2, 3. Now we have a truck. We got a used truck. Fantastic. Super helpful. He's really happy. Great. And again, keep working on positive mindset. And here's another thing, please. There's another tool, practical tool. We all know this. Don't give up. Don't give up. The Dalai Lama has a very beautiful poem he's written about don't give up, never give up. And think of what he's endured, right? Young person lost his country to communist Chinese in 1959, had to exile. So just think if and we're not all from the US here, but for those of you, let's say from the US, I have a passport from the United States of America. They issue me a legal document. And because the US is seen as a pretty reasonable country, I'm basically able to travel to a lot of other countries without needing a visa. Okay, I have to go to Nepal, I have to get a visa. Okay, and the visa thing, there's an application process, how many days, they do it differently, and you get a receipt, and then you go to the airport and you have to wait, and you need this, and you need a photo. And I mean, it's a pain in the butt. Right? But you do it, it's easy. It'll be done. It's not a thing, but it costs money and on, all that stuff. But because I have a United States passport, I can go to many other countries easily. I can go to Europe. I don't need, it's easy. If I lose my passport, my country will give me a new passport. I am taken care of by that country, as a lot of countries do. If I get into trouble in a foreign country and it's really not my fault, we're under attack, and they find out what they do with the American embassies, they find out which Americans are there, who needs to be evacuated. That's the responsibility of the United States to get me out of there safely. To some degree, they will do that. If I let embassies know and I'm not doing anything stupid, they will try to find me and do stuff. Okay. So when you exile your country and you're forced to leave your country, you no longer have legal papers for your country. It's not recognized. There's no Tibetan passport anymore. It's China. And they don't issue Tibetan passports for Tibetans in China. You get a Chinese thing, and what they have issued for Tibetans living in India, India's allowed them to stay. You have what's called an Indian Identity Certificate. It looks like a passport, it's yellow, used to be yellow, but it has minimal pages. And every single country you ever want to travel to needs a visa, even if you transit. Some countries, even if you're transiting from one gate to another, That's another page. They slap a visa into that page. 6 pages in there, they fill up. Then you have to get another thing. And if you're in India trying to get that new document, it could take 9 months to get it. So good luck. I've done that for Tibetan refugees. It's really a hassle. Okay. So when you think about it, and there's this holiness, never give up. It's pretty impressive. So think about the little issues we have in our country, being in a first world country, as they'd say, or developed country, is just keep working with your mind. Don't give up. People can be challenging. You can have a really hard time going on in your life. I think the hardest things are if we are gravely ill or people we love are gravely ill. Put it in perspective, right? A lot of our problems are not really problems. So can I put it in perspective? Work as best as I can with kindness in my heart, but considering that we're all lost. We're all kind of in this broken situation. We're muddling along. We're all interconnected. If I show somebody a little bit of kindness, like that could make their whole day. That could change everything for them for the better. Staying positive. See what you can do. Any last questions, please? So workable for you? I mean, are we communicating? So let's try this week. Please continue. Think about right thought. And again, thinking about, and what love is wanting others to be happy. I'm not talking about romantic love. And romantic love has a lot of conditions, right? It's kind of temporary, but I'm talking about pure unconditional love is I really want this person to be happy. Now, I'm not going to foist my happiness on them or my agenda, but I'm just going to see what are they saying is going to make them happy in this situation. That's if I really love them, that's what I want for them. It may not be according to my view or whatever, but, and again, if you're a parent, you have advice for somebody, that's one thing. Impart the advice. If they're an adult, you let go. They have to make their own mistakes. They have to try their own things. But see if you can impart that. See if you can think about selfless renunciation and detachment. Are you operating from that? Are you taking things too personally and you get hooked by that? Then you want to get back at somebody and you fall into the rut. How are you working to pack up some negative rumination? Can you pack it up when you need to? So see if you can work with those exercises. We have one more week next week. So hoping to see you there. And I want to thank Shanti Deva Center and Sunny. And we're going to do some basic dedication practices right now, some prayers. You can join in. I'd love to invest whatever merit we've created, whatever positive energy, basically, in helping us continue to do these exercises, to not give up, to cultivate positive thoughts as much as we can on this path to merging ourselves with that ultimate reality and learning more about that, getting better with that, eventually having a direct perception of emptiness, but using it all on our path to get to a place where we can unlimitedly benefit all living beings. Sunny, can you just make me a co-host so I can share my screen? Is that okay? Thank you. So feel free if you'd like to join in. This helps us develop the enlightened attitude, this wish to get enlightened, to benefit all others. Bodhicitta. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. To realize emptiness. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. And here's His Holiness and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Nice little photo. And for the long life of the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Chenrezig Zig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. For the long life of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sunny and Shanti Davis Center. Great to see all of you. Please be well this week and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Venerable Amy.
Thank you, Venerable.
You.
Thank you.
Please enjoy. I'm looking at my niece right now and her it's so sweet. So Sunny, this is my niece in the Philadelphia area.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
And Sunny's in
Yes.
New York, and she's been with Shanti Davis Center, and it's great to see you, Alexis.
Miriam was hanging out during the whole time too.
Well, hopefully she's getting some imprints here because it, you know, we have a lot of animals in the Zoom room often. Yeah.
I
love
see
to-
them. It's fun.
I know. I see people's like cat walking across the screen and Mimi, Mimi. There she is. There's my little face. She's just such a sweetie.
Say
How cool.
hello.
Yeah, she's very
Well,
sweet.
Well, thank you. I always
great to
enjoy these
see-
classes.
Great to see you guys, and I'm so glad you could make it. And Sunny, thanks again for all the hosting and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much for all your teachings. It's really.
Please be well, you guys. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye. Thank you.